I'm stunned. Hey, you just told me something. I'm trying to gather my thoughts. Hey, we're back. I'm Perry along with Bryan Platt, Executive Director of Jackson County Right to Life, a champion for the unborn. Well, wait a minute. Let's jump there. What? You just told me that the petition drive's back on?
Well, okay, so the 2018 iteration of the petition drive.
Okay.
No, not for this year. We're done for this year.
All right, you put my brain on tilt. All right, we'll come back to that. Let's go.
Quick, grab your pen. Let's get out on the street. Yeah.
So much going on the life issue, and I'm glad you're here. Thank you, brother. Good to see you. Love what you do, and you're just unbelievable passion. All right, Jackson County Right to Life, your big raffle.
This is it. This is our once-a-year fundraiser. You don't know anything about fundraising. We try to keep it simple. Yeah. This, I think, is the 14th year that we've used the raffle format. Yeah. And it's, people said, well, why don't you just go out and ask some people to fund you? And that, they're there. Yeah. They're there. But the community, there's so many people that say, I can't make the meetings. This isn't my season. And I totally understand the concept of, having a season for this and a season for that. But they're willing to buy a few raffle tickets. And in that way, they feel like they're participating, and they are. Yeah. Without those funds, we don't do the county fair booth. We don't do the life chain. We don't do our rally, January 22nd rally. And so we came up with this raffle concept. It has really been effective. It's been well received. You may remember, we spent some time in prayer about this because there's ramifications with the game of chance and the prize money and how that's going to be received by the community. But it's the spirit of the thing. Yeah. The idea is it gets Jackson County Right to Life some seed money to do these other things. And the people that have won the prize, those are divine interventions. I'm absolutely convinced of that. So the $1,000 it's funded diapers at the pregnancy center. It's given people money to fix their cars. The stories that we have heard about the results of the people that decided to support the chapter, irregardless of what the chances, a 1 in 250 chance, is to win the prize. And yet the Lord has had his hand in that and blessed people with that prize money, just like he's blessed the chapter with the proceeds from the raffle ticket sales. So we do this once a year. There are 250 $10 tickets. Of course, you could buy them all and greatly improve your odds of winning, but it's too late because I bought one for all my grandkids. So we've already got that, that's off the table. But anyhow, 250 tickets, $10 a piece. That generates $2,500 in gross money. Costs us about $80, I think, to print the tickets themselves. So the net result to the chapter is, $2,400 roughly dollars, which is sufficient to pay for our fair booth and all the things that we order, that are germane to putting that event on. Pays for our Life Chain event in October. Good. Pays for the expenses that we have to do our January 22nd rally. We've also used some of that money just in the past year because of the Planned Parenthood videos. We've bought quite a number of very nice, colorful, all-weather type signs, for our pickets. So those are the kinds of things that money goes toward.
So where do they get the tickets?
Okay, so you've got Sue's got tickets.
Right.
Okay,
here at the Dove.
Okay. We've got Bob and Rebecca Gurney down at the Medford mailbox. They have tickets.
Okay.
Valley Vinyl's got tickets.
Okay.
And we also are on the honor system. And so if you would like to just call me on my cell phone and just say, this is Mary Smith, and I'd like to get 5 tickets or whatever, if you will just let me know that you want them and get me your mailing address, I will mail you the tickets, and when you get them, you can send a check back made out to Jackson County Right to Life, and we're totally good with that. So my cell phone is 541 Yeah. I get so many solicitation calls, it really doesn't. I listen to them all, folks.
Well, nice. I ought to give you my cell phone number. Okay,
well, Perry's number
no, don't do that.
So it's 541-821-4773. 821-4773. And we'll get you tickets in the mail. All I have to do is call and just say how many you want, and we'll get those going. So Jerry Show. Yeah. Of course, the fair starts. What day is the fair? Fair starts. It starts the 20th, Wednesday the 20th. So we'll be selling whatever tickets we have left until Friday the 22nd. And then on Jerry Bilden's show, Friday, July 22nd,
you'll announce
we'll have usually Nina goes down there to the booth, and we have somebody that's passing by. We grab them, and we put all the tickets in a hat, and we have the drawing right there during Jerry's show live. So that's when the drawing will be held.
Well, folks, look, 250 tickets, maybe there's 220 left or whatever, but let's just nab these up. Come on by here at the Dove. You can go on down to Medford Mailbox. You can get them there, Valley Vinyl, or give.
And the PRC at Pregnancy Center.
Oh, the Pregnancy Center, right behind Costco and Walmart there. Or give Bryan a call, 821-4773. That's area code 541-821-4773, and we'll do the honor system there. By the way, you can call that number at 3 in the morning for pizza. Yeah. Just kidding.
Well, for a pizza, it'd probably be worth it.
Anyway, let's get these tickets sold. Look, I don't know if you got all of that, but let me tell you this. An annual budget of $2,500? That's a lean budget.
Well, we don't have a lot of administrative costs. Let's just say
that way. Yeah. Dollar in, dollar out. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
All right, tell us about the fair booth.
Well, so the fair is really our single largest exposure to the general public. And I mean, I could sit here for the rest of the time we have and tell you stories about what we've seen happen at that fair booth. But the bottom line is it only happens because we have volunteers that are willing to give 2 or 3 hour shifts out there to man the booth. And the fair requires us to have at least 2 people in the booth at all times. Now, they've actually pared down the times. It's interesting, you know, they're somewhat responsive, it appears to me, to just the needs of the vendors and whatnot in the booths. We're in the big Compton Arena. I think they've renamed it. I don't recall what it is, but we're in the Compton Arena. You walk in past the ticket booth there, right in the main thing, go straight in, boom, we're right there. We've got an outstanding spot up on the top deck on the concrete.
Good for you.
So we need volunteers in pairs starting Wednesday, going through Sunday. Fair begins at 11 a.m. It actually closes inside the Compton Arena at 9, so we don't have any 11 o'clock evening, shifts anymore. Some of the shifts are 3 hours, some of them are 2. Robin has that kind of all sorted out, and so we'd like to encourage you, especially if you've done it before. We really lean on people that have been there before, kind of been there, done that. You know, there's a certain protocol that we require, willingness to accept the doctrines of Oregon Right to Life and Jackson County Right to Life, for example. We need ladies. The ladies, it's so powerful to have the ladies in the booth, okay? So call a friend, and then I'm going to give you Robin's telephone number, and let's get you guys all on the schedule so we can get these slots for the fair booth filled in here before the stress factor gets too high. From
July 20th to the 24th, if you have a couple of hours a day through those time periods, or 3 hours a day, you and a friend, so in couples, in twos, and you want to volunteer, sit in this booth. Let me tell you something. Sitting in this booth, and I know you have some stories to share, but when people walk by and see that display, boy, the conversations begin.
You know, I'll tell you one, just real quick one, because I've probably said this every year for the last who knows how many years. It doesn't matter because it's so powerful. So here we have all this nonsense out there about what a baby is, a fetus, or all these names you can give it whatever you want. It's a baby, okay? And it's the children. They come up to the booth. We have our fetal models, these actual life-size replications of the development of the unborn, from conception to late term. And the children come up and say, "Mama, baby." Mama, baby. Yeah. What more can you say? Yeah. All of us adults, we're trying to figure out ways that we can not say baby, so we don't have to have this whatever. But anyhow, being in that booth is a blessing. And you do get an admission ticket with each shift that you volunteer for. Now, that doesn't cover parking, but it does cover admission to the fair. So you can bring your family, come early, you get in free, take your shift while the family's out racing around, whatever. Yeah. But we would really appreciate that. Oh, and Robin's phone number, which is 541-773-7185, 773-7185. She's coordinating the schedules.
Okay, we'll have these numbers here too.
Okay, great.
All right, so we tried hard this year to get tax state-funded abortion petition on the ballot to alleviate that so that our tax dollars wouldn't be paying for state-funded abortions. And got caught in the maze of
the system.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? I had Jason on the morning show, and the highest corporate tax increase in the history of the state went through like that, and they gave it a positive ballot title, and that thing just boom went through.
Right.
And Attorney General's office. You get over this, and you got caught up in the quagmire.
Well, and I mean, it went beyond the pale this time, Perry. I mean, a lot of times there'll be little nuances that they put in that just put a person's frame of reference in a negative sense. This time they actually came up, the final iteration was absolutely technically incorrect. They considered, in the ballot title, they considered a contraceptive, okay, a birth control pill, to be a form of abortion. Okay, and there's arguments that can be made that under certain circumstances, contraceptives do act as abortifacients. But the text of the bill specifically said does not include contraceptives, but they put contraceptive into the ballot title as an abortion. So it was the bill itself ran in conflict with itself.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. And that was when we ran out of time. And it's just like, we have nowhere that we can go with this other than it's literally to start over. So that's what we're doing.
All right, so where are we?
Okay, so the first step in the process is you create a new ballot, a new title, a new text, and then you submit it to the Secretary of State as it is. The Secretary of State's office says, okay, to prove that this is legitimate, you need to bring us 1,000 valid signatures, okay, part of that total of 117,000, but to start with, we need to know there's 1,000 people out there that are willing to sign on to this. Then we'll go through this process that just was disastrous for us. So that began yesterday in Salem at Franklin Graham's rally.
Really?
And I haven't heard from Jeff as far as the success rate of the number, but that was a group of people that are on fire for the Lord.
Don't quote me on this, but I saw on Facebook that 2,000 signatures were gathered yesterday.
And that is the maximum that can be gathered for that first sponsorship section. So that makes total sense to me. I mean, the people were there, you know, the field is ripe.
Yeah.
So, you know, if that doesn't happen, I actually think we'll bring the petition, the sponsorship thing down here to our fair booth, and we'll kick off our Southern Oregon part of that down here. There's a little bit of a danger, though, Perry, there, because, and we've been through this before, and that is people that sign it in July of 2016 and then are asked, will you sign this in January of 2018, go, let's see now, did I sign? You know, and there's a little bit of a problem there, but the issue that we had was wrestling with the system at the Attorney General's office and then the Supreme Court ruling on the title, the text, and now we have a year and a half to sort through that, to iron that out, and our hoped for launch date for the signature gathering, the 117,000 signatures, will be on Roe v. Wade commemorative day, January 22nd, 2018, for the ballot of November of 2018. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. I can't say enough for the tenacity of you and all of the folks in the Right to Life movement in the state of Oregon staying at it in spite of all these blows that we take. You know, one thing about it, abortions are down. And I think we may not be winning it on the legal area of some of these things, and we'll continue to fight there. But I think we're winning it on the information and understanding of what abortion is.
Well, and I mean, Perry, I mean, the bottom line is we have to change hearts. And that's actually why the fair booth is so powerful. But I actually see the Supreme Court decision from Monday as a really good opportunity for all of us to enter into more dialogue about this, to do a heart change discussion with people, because it was headline news. I mean, it still kind of is, although things, you know, with bombings and whatnot, things tend to fade away pretty rapidly. But I just have some real optimism.
Okay, hold that.
Okay, you got it.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back because I want him to respond to the Supreme Court ruling on Monday, which was the last day the court had to put out its decisions. And they overthrown the Texas law, what that law really was, a 5-3 vote. We'll talk about the consequences of that, and if there's a silver lining, he'll show it to us. We'll be right back.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
Okay, welcome back, and we're with Bryan Platt today. He heads up Jackson County Right to Life, and some great things going on as we head towards the Jackson County Fair coming up in July, which is the 20th through the 24th. They have their annual life booth out there, and by the way, if you want to volunteer for that and serve in a 2-hour shift and 2 at a time, we'll give you a number here in a minute. And don't forget, they have about 220 some odd raffle tickets yet to sell at $10 a piece, and those raffle tickets fund the chapter for a year. So you can pick some up here at the Dove, you can pick some up at the Medford Mailbox, Valley Vinyl, the Pregnancy Center, or you can give Bryan a call on his cell phone, 821-4773. All right, Monday was an incredible day as the Supreme Court released an abortion ruling, which has been several years since they've done anything like this, and it pretty much put down the Texas ruling that they were going to put tighter restriction on abortion clinics. Pretty simple stuff, but it just didn't see the light of day.
Well, first of all, to me, and I mean, the politics are an intriguing part of it, and I know we're both interested in that. I think it sets aside any notion that Justice Kennedy is a conservative.
Yeah.
The media has tried to paint him that way, and I think part of it there was a reason behind it, which was that you have 4 clearly liberal Supreme Court justices, then you have 3 with the death of Anton Scalia, that was the 4th one, and Kennedy has always been up here kind of wishy-washy, swinging around, and the media's been saying, oh, he's a conservative, and there are some rulings that he tended to side with the conservative other 4. With the death of Scalia, his position on the court is huge now. He really, is truly the swing vote. But I think this exposed him for what he is. And boy, does it highlight how important the Supreme Court, really the judiciary in general, but the United States Supreme Court is everything with respect to a political resolution. You can't say solution, because the solution is in the heart. But a resolution politically to this issue, and obviously a lot of other issues that conservatives hold dear. But from my perspective, and you look at it and you go, oh, when my daughter Tessa called me when Anton Scalia passed away, I'll never forget it. She called, she said, "Did you hear the news?" And after she told me, I'm just sitting while I was at a gas station, I was just stunned that the Lord would choose to take Anton Scalia. Lord, are you sure you got the right guy?
Yeah.
We need this guy. He was brilliant. He was a champion for the pro-life movement. But here we are. And it's his plan. Obviously, he doesn't make mistakes. So, I look at the upcoming presidential election and the choices that we have, and there's a lot to be said there, but the Supreme Court has the potential for 1, 2, 3, 4 potential nominees appointments over the next 4 to 8 years. And so for so many conservative issues, but the pro-life issue in particular, this is a watershed presidential election cycle. Okay, so having said all that, so now we lost. There were 2 issues. There were admitting privileges for doctors who perform abortions, and then there was the issue of the conditions, the physical conditions within a clinic that performs abortions. And here's where I kind of come from on this. If I had a medical procedure that I was facing, I would want to put myself in a position where I had the very best possibility of care, physical care, attendance of professionals, sanitary conditions, up-to-date equipment. I want to put myself in the best chance. I trust the Lord, but I'm not going to go out to somebody's garage like I might have my transmission fixed at to have my appendix removed. I was on the radio the other day, a local radio station, talking about this, and I would challenge people to look at this as an opportunity to engage in debate in an area that we tend to be a little bit careful about, and that is right down to the nitty-gritty of what is an abortion.
Okay, I was waiting to see if you're going to go there, because what I got out of this is another problem that maybe we need to address in educating people about abortion. When we talk about abortion, does the average person know that it's a surgical procedure?
Yeah. Yeah, that is it, exactly.
And I don't know if they do. They just think it's something that you go into a clinic, a drive-by clinic, and they do something that ends this pregnancy and you move on. I don't think they realize for a moment how much of an invasive surgical procedure this really is. And don't you want the optimum sanitary conditions, and don't you want to be the closest place to a hospital if something was to go wrong?
Well, so here's a story from the fair.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, a couple of young ladies were looking at the display in the booth, and we had a couple of our really good volunteers there, and we have a box that's covered up, and it has the instruments an abortionist uses to perform an abortion. And in the discussion that they had, the volunteer opened that box and started to bring out these stainless steel implements that are used to tear a baby's body apart while it's inside the mother's womb. Those two young ladies left there. They will never have an abortion as long as they live, because the reality of what a surgical abortion is was made clear to them. They could see it. They could hold these instruments in their own hands. They could see the tips, the vices, the cutters, the ways that they use to literally tear this baby apart. This may be an opportunity for us, and you don't have to get into the graphics necessarily, but challenge people to stop and think, what is an abortion? We're not talking about some little thing, like you said, you drive in, you drive out, 30 minutes later, everything is good, I've taken care of the problem. This is a surgical invasive procedure under anesthetic. Kermit Gosnell, is the most egregious example of this. No oversight whatsoever, and negligence, frankly, on the part of the city of Philadelphia and the state of Pennsylvania. But it was conditions of squalor, of filth, that these women were putting themselves and subjecting themselves to this thing. Okay, the strategy that the states are using because of the block that the Supreme Court has previously placed on restrictions on abortion has been, let's work on some of these peripherals. An ambulatory surgical center is required for a woman to have a surgical abortion. It's the safest place for that woman to be if she decides to follow through on an abortion. Why would you have it in a clinic or someplace that has no more sanitation requirements than Jackson County Humane Society has for euthanizing animals? I mean, why would you put yourself in that place? So yes, the strategy is, by putting this restriction in place, it reduces the number of places that are available for a woman to find an abortion, but it's for the woman's physical safety, it's for her benefit that we do this.
All right, so it got struck down by the Supreme Court, which only leads you to believe that the whole thing, as it relates to the Supreme Court, is political if they can't see that this was actually a bill to protect women.
I don't think there's any doubt about that, Perry. And Barack Obama and his predecessors have been basically given a carte blanche, at least until this most recent nominee, with respect to who they appoint. Lena Kagan, Sotomayor. The court is stacked with people that are promoting their agenda. And anyone who tries to deny that is just, they've drunk the Kool-Aid, or they're just not being disingenuous about the whole thing.
Well, it is a significant blow because this now is the law. I don't know if there's going to be an appeal or Texas comes back. I don't see Texas rolling over on this. I would assume there's going to be some kind of a pushback. It may even go over into the 10th Amendment issue as it relates to state rights. But in the meantime, what does this mean? What do we pro-lifers do now? You have an indication that, all right, this may give us an opportunity to do what? Well,
so to me, this brings it back to the grassroots, okay? We're not in a position, especially in the state of Oregon, with zero restrictions. Honestly, we talked about this before, almost negative restrictions. They put things in place that benefit the opportunity for a woman to gain an abortion. But for us individually, it opens up an opportunity for dialogue. So if you're talking with a friend, this subject comes up, the question is, well, have you really thought about what an abortion is? in relation to this Supreme Court ruling. These laws were put there to help the physical well-being of a woman who has ultimately made the decision to have an abortion. And then talk about Kermit Gosnell or any of the other egregious examples that there are. This is a safety and health issue for the woman. They all talk about wanting abortion to be safe. That's what this law was about. And yet the Supreme Court justices flip that around and say this has virtually no benefit, which to me is ludicrous based on the history of Kermit Gosnell and others. So it becomes a one-on-one, what is abortion? Have you really thought about what the abortion procedure is? Center for Bioethical Reform, Greg Cunningham, Center for Bioethical Reform on the internet, if you want to see what a surgical abortion is, if you're a pro-lifer and you haven't seen it, you probably do need to see it. And our chapter has been very hesitant about using graphic images and things. I mean, for 20 years, we've only done it, I think, once when Bob Packwood was in town, when he was still a United States Senator. But this may be an opportunity, in spite of how difficult it is to see these images, to understand what is an abortion.
Well, I think that's the bottom line. Again, I don't think we look at it as a very invasive surgical procedure. We need to bring that to the forefront. The other thing is that, we've had this Supreme Court decision, and then we had supposedly pro-life people vote for the omnibus bill, which funded Planned Parenthood. So the conflict and the two message system out there is horrific, but that doesn't take from our responsibility as people of faith and pro-lifers to do everything we can. Listen, I'm about out of time. Let me say a couple things. Jot this number down, 821-4773. That's his cell number to get tickets, raffle tickets, and we have them here at the Dove. And don't forget, if you want to volunteer to work in the fair booth, give us a call. We'll give you Robin's number as well.
Thank you, Perry.
Thank you, buddy. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.